Would you be comfortable with Russia or China taking their stockpile of highly enriched uranium, and have they offered to do that?
No, I wouldn't be comfortable.
That
That would not make me comfortable. We're not talking about any easing of sanctions or giving money. No sanctions, no money, no nothing. We have control of money that they claim is theirs. We'll keep control of that money.
President Trump at yesterday's cabinet meeting opposing any decision Iran might make in sending its enriched uranium to China. So Iran reportedly wants to send 60% of it to Beijing as part of a ceasefire deal to end the conflict. China has yet to deny the story and has shown willingness to accept a transfer. I want to bring in Gatestone Institute senior fellow Gordon Chang. Gordon, your reaction to that?
President Trump was absolutely right. Iran has a nuclear weapons program because China transferred virtually everything that it needed, either directly or indirectly through the AQ-Khan nuclear black market. So, we did not go to war so that China could hide its nuclear proliferation, because we want to know where those isotopes came from. And we're not going to be able to do that if it gets shipped off to China. So I think it's important that either, as President Trump said on Monday, either it gets destroyed in country, destroyed in the United States, or destroyed in an acceptable country. And clearly neither Russia nor China are acceptable.
Is China still buying oil from Iran? There's been reports that those shadow tankers are still out there and that the business as usual is still happening. Is that true?
The answer to your question is yes, because there are at least 2 rail lines that connect Iran to China, and they're selling them over rail. And this has been reported. The Trump administration should sever those lines because although the amount is not substantial, nonetheless, it is an important flow of revenue to Iran, especially because the Strait of Hormuz is closed. So although the Trump administration has stopped most of China's purchases of Iranian oil, it's still going on, and we know about it. It's in the open.
Yeah, no, there's a front story in the Journal this morning, the high seas black market that keeps Iran's oil flowing. And it's just, despite sanctions, the regime is still selling billions of dollars in oil to China using these aging tankers. Let's stay with with Beijing, because they're further advancing their surveillance state. They've deployed this massive AI network to give the state more automated powers. There's an analysis from the Financial Times that found that local Chinese governments are deploying these new systems to increase, quote, predictive policing. So they're tracking certain behaviors, erratic driving, crowd buildups. NVIDIA, meanwhile, signaling that it's moving away from China and into Taiwan, announcing a new campus in Taipei and a $150 billion annual budget for the island. Gordon, what are your thoughts on that?
This is a really interesting development because the latest quarter for NVIDIA, its China sales fell by 50% and its Taiwan sales increased by 50%. So as China has made it clear, it's not going to be buying H200 chips. NVIDIA really doesn't have a choice. So really what this is doing is something that China doesn't like, because it's increasing the microchip business in Taiwan. And remember, NVIDIA, although it designs the world's most sophisticated microchips, doesn't make any of them. All of them are made by TSMC, the Taiwan company, or by Samsung. And what we're seeing in South Korea right now, is very interesting because it looks like they want to take over Samsung, the government. And that means TSMC will become even more important. TSMC now makes 92%. It could very well end up making 100% if the South Korean government effectively nationalizes Samsung.
That's a little disconcerting when you've got China constantly threatening Taiwan. There is more news this morning. This is a news story I wanted to get your reaction to. U.S. Border Patrol arrested 12 illegal migrants in Maverick County, Texas. 6 of them are classified as special interest aliens from China. Gordon, they were dressed in camouflage. What do you think is happening
and
here?
They were dressed in identical camouflage, and the U.S. Border Patrol noticed the change in the surge of Chinese migrants. In the first years of the Biden surge, they were family groups primarily. Towards the later years, they were single males, military age, traveling without family members. Border Patrol knew that some of them actually had links to the Chinese military, and they were noticing towards the end of the Biden administration that some of these were coming across in packs of 4 to 15, and they were dressed out in identical kit, just as these people were. What we know, Cheryl, is that with this surge of very suspicious special interest aliens, also there was a big increase in attempted incursions into our military facilities by Chinese nationals. So this is very clear what's occurring right now. We had the March 10th incident at MacDill Air Force Base where the bomb was left near the visitor center. The Chinese are making it very clear that they are that they're going to strike, because I think what happened at March 10th at MacDill was a warning to the Trump administration.
Strike? What do you mean strike? Define that.
It means killing Americans. We know that they've got their rings of agents, operatives, and soldiers in our country. We know that these biological weapons facilities, we found 2, but there is clearly a 3rd that has been undiscovered. This is really dangerous when you have these migrants here. And we saw during the Biden administration, when some of these Chinese migrants came over, they had no money, no identification, no job. Within 2 weeks, they were taking target practice all across the country, from Delaware to Idaho.
Well, Gordon, that is really disconcerting. Before you go, I do want to ask you about this. The Reagan National Economic Forum is out with their annual survey. 86% of Americans support a free trade agreement with Asia to counter China's dominance in major industries like AI, rare earth minerals. Maria's going to be hosting the show tomorrow live from the Reagan National Economic Forum in Simi Valley. What is your reaction to that number?
Well, that number is common sense. But the Trump administration, the first one on its first day, withdrew the United States from the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which was designed to counter China. It was designed to alter trade flows across the Pacific away from China and towards the United States. I think the Trump administration, despite its aversion to multilateral trade agreements, should have stayed in, because what we would have had, a lot of problems that we're dealing right now with China would not exist if the TPP had actually been put in place.
Interesting point. Gordon Chang, it's always a great pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for being with us this morning.
Thank you so much, Carol.